Healing the soul to heal the body. Many people go to the doctor seeking medical help for an ache or a pain. They have a troublesome migraine that won't even let them think. Or high blood pressure that makes their heart beat twice as fast. Or some other ailment that overwhelms, exhausts and keeps them from getting up in the morning. Our whole body aches. And thus, we receive pills for whatever pain or ache is impairing our lives. But, is that the right thing to do? We can't attribute all of the blame to our doctors. They have very little time to serve and treat us, and it's common, for example, to go back home with a less than successful or adequate treatment. A few weeks later, that heartburn or nausea will once again keep us from leaving the house. And we'll once again feel that tachycardia that gets worse every time we go back to work. Life hurts. Life has side effects that hurt our soul and make our body sick. What can we do? How can we face this harsh reality? The most common problem in medical consults. We're not going to start any philosophical or religious discussion about the actual existence or not of the soul. But we can all understand the concept. We attribute who we are and what we feel to our soul. It holds our fears and anxieties. Our dreams. There are some theories that go beyond this. Theories, for example, that refer to a concept of regression in past lives, where we continue carrying the burden of unsolved issues. But we're not going to delve into these concepts. We will stick with the basic idea of the soul, a representation of our true authentic essence. A very fragile and vulnerable entity that feels harmed on a daily basis. How can we move forward with our day-to-day lives if our inner being feels disappointed or coerced? Emotional or psychological pain manifests in the body. An undiagnosed depression will remain hidden, yet still evident in the person who suffers it. A muscle relaxer will be of no use for a backache or stomach pain. The person will seek out a specialist complaining of an ailment, of those intestinal problems that barely lets them eat anything. What can you do? First of all, be responsible. Be conscious of the fact that the true root of your problem resides in your mind, not in your body. And it might surprise you, but something like that is not easy to admit for many of us. It's much simpler to assume that we suffer from migraines than from depression. Interestingly, something happens in many families where one of the members is diagnosed precisely with this illness, with depression. How should they treat that family member now? How should we address them? What should a child do whose mother suffers from depression? In some way, our society hasn't accepted or assumed these aches of the soul. When in reality, these can be the best tool to help and support you. Family, friends, that they can be at times the best cure to help us during these hard times. But, how can you heal the soul? Be aware of everything that happens around you and how certain things affect you. Sometimes, we yield more than we should. We accept things that go against our values. We end up wrapped up in toxic relationships and don't realize until it's too late. Take care of yourself, analyze what's happening around you and look into how it affects you. Self-knowledge is a crucial coping strategy. When you come home with a headache, tense and with a deep-rooted discomfort, before you resort to a medicinal drug, have some me time. 2 hours of rest, being alone with yourself. A time to be within your own castle of thoughts, where you can disconnect and be yourself. If this alleviates your physical discomfort, maybe it's time to make some small modifications in your life. We know that it's not always easy to find time to be alone with ourselves. But, keep in mind that you'll slowly lose yourself if you don't take further action. You'll be completely deluded by obligations that keep you from obtaining inner balance and achieving true well-being. Don't be afraid to express out loud what is hurting you. Whatever is bothering and affecting you, if you keep quiet and hide it, slowly that concern will end up turning into a physical pain. Accept it, express it, seek help and begin a process of change and modifications in search of that coveted well-being. That tranquility of the soul, which we all have the right to possess. The contents of Exploring Your Mind are for informational and educational purposes only. They don't replace the diagnosis, advice, or treatment of a professional. In the case of any doubt, it's best to consult a trusted specialist.